Hi Church family, Pastor Dan here, and to visitors, welcome to our devotional channel here at Rockhampton Baptist. Now, often when we think about time and we reflect back on things that we've done in the future, we forget things. We hold on to the cherished memories, we hold on to the good experiences, and maybe we forget sometimes the hardships, some things that we had to push through and persevere through, and we forget in fact what's happening, and we don't learn from some of those lessons. Here at the end of the book of Hebrews, the author calls them to remember back to some of the earlier days. Sometimes they're focusing on receiving a level of persecution, and remember back to the hope in which you have received. Now, we have to do that sometimes as well, remembering of kind of what we've gone through, in fact, to get here. The strength and those things that we've picked up along the way that in fact helps us in his journey that we've often forgot about. So let me read. We're looking today at Hebrews chapter 10. We're going to finish chapter 10 today, starting at verse 26. It says, "If we deliberately keep on sinning after we've received the knowledge of the truth, no sacrifice for sins is left, but only a fearful expectation of judgment and of raging fire that will consume the enemies of God. Anyone who rejected the law of Moses died without mercy on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. How much more severely do you think someone deserves to be punished who has trampled the Son of God underfoot, who has treated as an unholy thing the blood of the covenant that sanctified him, and who has insulted the Spirit of grace? For we know him who said, 'It is mine to avenge, I will repay,' and again, 'The Lord will judge his people.' It is a dreadful thing to fall into the hands of the living God." Remember those early days after you have received the light, when you endured in great conflict, full of suffering. Sometimes you were publicly exposed to insult and persecution. At other times you stood side by side with those who were so treated. You suffered along with those in prison and joyfully accepted the confiscation of your property, because you knew that you yourselves had better and lasting possessions. So don't throw away the confidence, it will be richly rewarded. You need to persevere, so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. For in just a little while, he who is coming will come and will not delay. But my righteous one will live by faith, and I will take no pleasure in the one who shrinks back. But we do not belong to those who shrink back and are destroyed, but to those who have faith and are saved." Now, the original hearers of this book, now we don't know too much about them. There's very little, but this in the end of chapter 10, it gives us a great experience of what they're going through and what they have gone through. This idea of persecution is something that the hearers here have gone through, and seems quite severely. Now for us in Rockhampton here and around Australia, we don't experience this same level of persecution. I can't say I've been publicly exposed to insult and had property taken off me and things taken off me because of my faith. And so I can't relate to what they're going through and what they have experienced through. I've heard stories about what people have gone through and experienced, but it is difficult to relate, and for many of us, difficult to see what's happened here. But what we can see is the perseverance through faith that they've received as they remember about the early days when you receive that faith and desire to leave everything behind in order to follow Jesus. I think we have to do that as well. Not in the midst of heavy persecution, but maybe in the midst of persecution through distraction, the midst of persecution through things that are good, but are taking our time away from God, that are stealing, in fact, the joy in which God receives. With that sort of level of, it's not persecution, but distraction that is leading us away. That's meaning that we're unable to really persevere strongly in our faith. unable to hold fast to what God and Jesus has already done. Remembering this book has just unpacked the greatness of what Jesus went through, his sacrifice and the blood that was poured out. And that you see from verse 26, the idea of deliberately keeping on sinning. This idea of just deliberately disobeying God or going away from him kind of leads into that experience that we have now of just disobeying when God says, I want you to gather with the people of God. I want you to be serving in this way, using these gifts I've given you. And you're just going, but I need to do this. Maybe I'll do that and put that down. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that next week, or we'll do that next month. And that's that deliberately keeping on sinning, disobeying what God is in fact telling you. Jesus has gone through something great to purchase us, to free us from sin and the grip that Satan has on our lives. And so we should be persevering. Remember the salvation that Jesus has provided you, and persevere in the faith, in the midst of whatever comes, whether it's obvious persecution or just the subtle distraction that comes. We are called to persevere. And so let me pray for you today as you do that. Lord, I pray for those hearing this today, Lord, that they would persevere. Persevere in their faith, and their faith would be strengthened each and every day, each and every year. Lord, they would continue to grow in their knowledge of you and grow in their experience of you, be able to share the hope that they have in the midst of whatever comes their way, to actually realize that the enormous nature in which Jesus went through, the sacrifice in which Jesus went through for their lives. Lord, speak today and remind us when we struggle to follow you and to persevere during these times. Amen. Keep walking with God. Allow him to talk to you, Lord, daily and minute by minute, and keep looking for opportunities to bless others. As he speaks to you, listen and obey what he has to say. We'll see you soon.